sector emerges as a notable beneficiary within the swiftly evolving milieu of digital technologies and their multifaceted applications. The sector has already implemented digital sourcing of customer data, streamlined application processing, advanced credit underwriting, facilitated disbursements, and streamlined repayment collections as well. While the pivotal challenge facing the microfinance sector is the swiftness with which it and its stakeholders can recognize and address these challenges, align with regulatory directives, and establish robust data protection and privacy measures to foster trust and mitigate potential data misuse. So this is the background, and based on this, we have today's session, Breakaway Session 2, Role of Exponential Digital Technologies in Microfinance Services. It sounds like it's very, we need to understand the meaning of exponential first and then get into it. So we have speakers like Manoj Agrawal, who is the Group Editor, Banking Frontiers. He is the moderator of this session. May I request Mr. Manoj Agrawal, Group Editor, Banking Frontiers, to come up on stage, please. Please, those who are after lunch, we can expect some excitement. Yes, thank you so much. Mr. Shasidhar Thumuluri, if I'm not wrong, MD and CEO, Subke. Mr. Martin P., CEO, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Please louder, little louder. Mr. Anil Gupta, Partner in Payments Distribution, MicroSave Consulting, MSc. And last but not the least, Mr. Vinish, Shah, CBO, Craft Silicon. All of us, please, let's welcome them. And I'll hand over the mic to Mr. Manoj Agrawal, Group Editor, Banking Frontiers, for the rest of the session. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone in the audience and on the dais. Is everyone awake? Someone can say hi? Very good, thank you so much. That's motivational. So, we have a very exciting session, and I call it exciting because of that one word, exponential. And exponential is not something that you see in daily life. When India wins a cricket match against Pakistan in a big way, then the celebration that you hear, the patakas, the parties, that's exponential, right? Or when another good example that comes to mind is when you have a Chandrayaan or a Mangalyaan, we reach the destination, then the excitement that happens. That's exponential. That's exponential for the country as a whole to achieve such a spectacular, such a difficult mission. And so when Sa-Dhan termed this session on exponential digital technologies, I was very excited. Digital is like common nowadays. Technologies have been around for hundreds of years, but exponential is a different thing. And I'm hoping that with my panelists here, we can explore that exponential part of it in bigger detail. Because for microfinance, the growth, the impact has been great. But what everyone wants it for it to be, what do they want it to be? Exponential, right? So if we understand the word exponential and how it can make a difference for the microfinance sector, for the lenders, for the borrowers, for all the other ecosystem players, then perhaps we can really get the exponential impact to happen, right? So friends, let us begin on this note. Again, if I go back to the example of Chandrayaan, you don't say, I want to send a rocket to the moon. Let's buy all the parts, put them together, and put it on, and there it goes. The team has to do a lot and lots and lots of groundwork, right? Without that, that mission is sure to fail. Likewise, for exponential technologies to take off in microfinance, we need to understand the technology context, the technology background. The first 2 or 3 questions with my panelists, I'm going to try and figure out what really has happened in terms of leveraging technologies from 3 different angles. After that, we will get into the takeoff stage, where we have some kind of rocket rising and achieving some spectacular results. So friends, let me start maybe from this side. Let me start with you, Shashi. Describe one cutting edge or leading edge technology that you have adapted, that you have worked with in the recent past. And what was the objective for adapting that technology, that cutting edge technology, that leading edge technology, which comes with some risks, a lot of rewards, but some risks also. Which customer segments were you focusing on for that technology? So we're really looking at a technology focused picture from you. Do you have additional mics? Correct.
Is that when saving kind of access, saving kind of availability of financial products, that is our main goal.
Yes. Right.
The question that we continue to ask is, what if we really disrupt the customer? I think the microfinance business today still happens the way it used to happen when we disrupt the customer. There's nothing much changed there. We still follow the same exact models that we all follow from elsewhere. Of microfinance business, and we really sincerely believe that not all customers require touch or high touch for that matter.
Correct.
There are a lot of customers who may not need any touch. There may be some customers who may need lighter touch, and there may be some customers who will need a heavy touch.
Right.
Now your technology should be able to offer that configuration when you are serving a customer. How do you do that, right? So we said, let's create an interface for the customer. Now that phone is the most ubiquitous device that everybody uses. Let us devise an app which basically provides the customer a replica of a loan officer. Okay, so they see a physical person, now they see a digital assistant. Okay,
Wow.
but this digital assistant mostly serves all that a loan officer is supposed to serve. What does a loan officer do? The loan officer takes a motorbike in the morning, goes to the village, find customers, make them into groups, enroll them, process their files, then enable the disbursements, and then every month or every week or every fortnight, repeatedly go and collect loans. Now, can this digital assistant exactly do that for as many customers as they can manage themselves? That is exactly what we're trying to do.
There's a real digital assistant.
There is a real
person.
It's an app basically, which has all the potential enablements in terms of your ability to start with ability to pay in group, because the group is the core to
Right.
microfinance. So we don't want to disturb the basic tenets of the business. We say tenet of microfinance is a group, okay, which actually keeps everything together. So if you can design your digital interfaces in such a way that the basic foundations of the business is not disrupted, but the approach is changed. So now here is an app which actually gives the customers ability to interact in a group, rather pay in a group, borrow in a group, and sort of facilitate the whole process in a group, which is what we are working on. And tomorrow, of course, some of them may graduate to individuals. That's a second level problem. Right. First level is how do you not disturb the core, but change the way that we do business. So we use payment technologies. We use video technologies very, very extensively. And we use AI very, very extensively in replacing this human interface on a digital environment.
Okay.
I'll expand it later, but to answer your first
question.
How
long did the journey take to develop this and roll it out?
Well, it took us, so far we have been in a third year of a journey in moving this whole rock. Of course, there have been very good achievements in the process. Digital collections have gone up to upwards of 65%. Digital interfaces, digital onboarding has gone up. When I say digital onboarding, I literally mean digital onboarding, which means we don't meet the customer when we evaluate the loan. We only do one touch. We don't do the second person goes. He actually interacts, he or she interacts on the video. Okay. There is no, credit guy doesn't interact with the customer in a physical environment. They interact with the customer on a digital environment. That is almost 60-70% of our files are processed through that nature. And even group meetings are digitized now. So we don't necessarily conduct group meetings for those customers who pay fully on digital environment. So we say, hey, you already paid off your loan. Can we interact with you maybe on a video or something? So we try and see how we can interact with these customers, keep in touch with these customers without disturbing them in the middle of the day at 11 o'clock when they are supposed to be doing economic activity. Right. And expecting them to sit in a group meeting, in my opinion, is a taxing on the customer. How can we give them flexibility so that they stay in touch with you, but they don't need to actually make that effort to come to a physical meeting while the payments have already been done. So for all paid customers, we have a very smooth digital channels. For those who resort to cash, we have a traditional model. So we try to customize the solution based on the customer preferences rather than painting all the customers with the same brush. So I'll stop there. Yeah.
Sounds good. That sounds interesting that you can maintain that group nature of the interaction, because most digital solutions today are one to organization. I and my wife or I and my family can't use that same interface together. Very rare cases. Let's move on to Martin, a banker, and see what is some interesting journey that you've had with some kind of cutting edge technology in the recent past.
Sure. I think Shashi gave a jump start to the session. Right now I see the hall also getting filled up. There are a lot of things actually. Microfinance is a space where I think there is no end to innovation. What I see is there is a huge demand which is there. The second one is how do I make it accessible to this mass. So one of the very recent one, what we are working was, Shashi touched upon using apps where the customer can get a loan using an app, right? So we have gone one step ahead. For example, if you have seen, I'm sure most of you watch YouTube, right? When you watch YouTube, you see ads in your regional language. What does it say? So there is an audience who is there across the country. They want it in their regional language, which they have understood. So what we have done is our app, it is voice, visual, and video based. So when we started as a bank, we wanted to, earlier when we were a microfinance, we were just giving them loans. When we started as a bank, we wanted to open their savings account. We wanted them to use the accounts. And we had given them access to our traditional mobile app. But there was no uptake, in spite of us explaining that this app you can use, you don't have to visit our branch, you can see your balance in the mobile. It never took off. Then we were closely observing what were the barriers for the customers. Then what we understood was these apps required them to be digitally literate, input values when the system asks for. So those were the difficulties which we are seeing. Then what we came up with was a voice-enabled one, where one time the customer has to register. Then from there on, the customer speaks to the device and they can get services done. If they want to see their loan statement or if they want to see their savings account balance, right? So from where did we get this idea? We saw customers using their talking to their phones to get some, for example, this Google Talk. So they were using that one and they were speaking in Hindi, right? And from there, that is where it stuck to us. Okay, they want something where they can talk to and get access, right? And what it has done now is, and how many our customer education and whatever you do, I think it is that word of mouth which spreads here actually. And if the customer finds it convenient, convenience is the game actually. If the customer finds it easy to use, there is an uptake for that one. So it's a lot of observations you need to do with the customer, what they want. I think design thinking is something which has to be used extensively in this area to come up with any digital solution.
Sounds good, Martin. So both of you are talking about the customer engagement and the customer experience as a differentiator for driving something, as for accelerating something. Let me come to this side. We have a consulting firm and an IT firm. So let's twist the same question for you guys. What do you see as, what is the learning about using technology that makes it powerful and exponential in whichever use cases you've seen? To do some mic sharing.
So, first of all, I just want to build on to what Mr. Shashi has said. Interestingly, when we, maybe they're using it for their own business case. We being an IT company, we were very skeptical when we designed this app for self-onboarding. Because in microfinance, it's all high touch. Then, people don't think about high tech. Even when they think about high tech, it's all back-end process efficiency, right? So interestingly, we built a beta version prototype kind of thing and gave it to one of the small finance bank. And that was also group formation, but in a closed circuit, like, in a certain factory environment or certain industry environment, like, dairy and all that. And saw huge traction. Within just a couple of months, there were more than 5,000 groups formed using complete full digital onboarding, self-onboarding, including CGT, GRT, pretty much everything. And it was only one touch, which is the contact point verification when you are doing the GPS tracking for their house. That's it. Apart from that, everything was fully digital. And looking at that traction, now they are launching it in the open market. So it's like a white labeled application, anybody can download and then they can go about it. And now we are replicating it in some of the other SFBs and large NBFC MFI. So that's one that I will say.
Okay.
Second one, what we have done is, now basis our experience offering LOS and LMS, and so traditionally if you look at it, there are three main drivers like LOS, LMS, which is your core, and then the collection, right? So these are the three. Now, what we see, most of the change requests because of the regulatory requirement or because of whatever, that comes on LOS. LMS, there is hardly, very limited changes. So for that, what we did is, traditionally, most of the app is designed as in, like I'll just try to explain it in a very, very layman term. It's like a monolithic architecture. You have a database, you have a logic layer, you have a presentation layer.
Right.
These are the three. Now, when you are deploying any change in any one of these, you have to end up testing everything. Doing end-to-end impact analysis, even for a minor change, is a huge task.
Correct.
So what we started using now, we are transforming most of our application towards microservices-based architecture, wherein in the LOS, we are breaking it in different modules or different services. So when we are deploying any change, the change has to be in one segment only. We don't have to do the end-to-end testing, and that should be able to suffice everything.
Okay.
So though it's in the back end, but we see that, so we started with one product. Now we are trying to replicate it in the microfinance also. So that it's gradually going to come all across. And that's going to change. I mean, we have done the testing and everything. We have launched a few places. And we have seen a good traction towards this transformation.
Okay, that's interesting. And Anil, is there some aspect you want to dwell upon?
Yeah, a few actually. I see the hall is now almost full, so it's really, really good to speak at this point of time. So like just building on all the what we have discussed so far, see, like it's very heartening to see that we are trying to disrupt some of the high touch to high tech. That is one.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is that, see, generally what we have tried is that we have tried to moving a paper procedure to a digital procedure. So this is something that most organizations keep trying. But as a consultant, we know for sure, and as a practitioner also, we have seen in many places, unless,
Is Anil audible? Maybe you can
yeah,
keep it closer.
yeah. So, so from like, unless you start a journey of digital transformation, which we typically call digitalization, it is extremely difficult. Because what will happen, some of the process or some of the things will start breaking. Actually, the moment you start becoming partly digitized, partly manual, so these things become a major problem. So this is what I always say, that we should be looking at organization if we are doing digital transformation. And to me, this is something which I have been saying for several years. Digital means a very fundamentally very different thing. As Shashi, you spoke about it, digital to me means that I have the ability to do what I want versus your ability to do what you want. What essentially it means, to give you a simple example, now in a bank, you have an account, and on the account you bank set up a limit, right? I'm not comfortable with those limits, so I set up my own limits. You set up your own limits. So that is exactly the power of taking digital to to the last part of the spectrum. Otherwise, what's really happening? We create digital and we offer the same thing to everyone. And this is where I think the bigger problem is. Unless we are able to see it very clearly in all the spheres of our use cases, we will find it difficult to do that. Second part is that if you look at when we are using digital, as Martin spoke about, I think Martin, you refer to some of the things which Navana might have done with you, Litos, right? So we run an accelerator. So as part of that, of course, we have accelerated one organization. But before that also, if you, like most of us know that, like the lot of icons that we use in our digital app, they were thrusted upon us. It was not very intuitive for us. So whatever people would like to say, they would say, right now we see cart is a very intuitive icon. It wasn't the case 10 years back. Even I remember first time when I looked at the cart as an icon, I said, sorry, I don't understand this. Reason was very simple. We never were shopping from the malls 10 years back. Right now everyone is shopping it. And if you go to rural areas, they don't ever shop like that. So for them, all the icons which we feel are intuitive, they are alien. And I can give you number of examples, number of studies that we have done. Like to give you one simple example, a lot of people, particularly low income people, they cannot identify one currency note from the other currency note if everything is same. And this is what we have done in digital world. 100 rupees, 5 rupees, 500 rupees, 1000 in the previous time, or 2000 of the, which has really gone out of circulation. We have made all of them similar. Most of these people, they do not identify them. So they identify it in a very different way, or they identify if you assist them using the voice, which is where a lot of transformation has to happen, and which is happening. It's very happy that I'm happy to hear that Ujjivan has already embarked on this journey, and this is something that we strongly encourage all of us to do it. That is second. And third is that looking at the foundational change actually that we see, because which is giving rise to exponential digital transformation in India. So we will say that there are few parts of the stack which typically all of us know. One is that foundational ID, which has really made us acquire the customer and serve the customer at a fraction of the cost that we were incurring earlier. So our estimates suggest that we used to spend, say, 300 to 400 rupees to acquire a customer in a banking system. And now this cost has come down to, say, 15 to 20 rupees. So this itself has made it possible for most of practitioner to serve the customer segment with higher profitability, or maybe we pass on this benefit to them, a technology efficiency benefit to them, and that way we are able to serve them better. So to me, this is one very important layer which has really helped all of us to really talk about a lot of things that we are able to do, because a lot of things are built on this, as well as on interoperable payment layers.
Thank you, Anil. So I think Anil and Vinish have highlighted efficiency and personalization, other factors that help accelerate technology, deliver the results that it is supposed to deliver. Let's move on to one more context setting part, and that I want to talk about government initiatives, whether it is UPI, whether it is digital stack, India stack, whether it is JAM, scheme, all those kind of things. Most of those are designed not for the guy living in a tower in some metro 1 city or tier 1 city. They are designed first and foremost for these people who need to be financially included. Those guys have credit cards and all kinds of things, tools, financial tools. So what have you seen, very briefly, what have you seen as the ability to leverage these government initiatives? And to what extent are you getting results of it? Very quick, again, let's start again from, let's start with Martin maybe.
Yeah, I think I can cover it. So there are two types of innovations which actually happen. One is there is a compelled innovation which happens, like COVID, a demon, which compels everybody to think and work out a solution. Right? The other one is a good innovation like a Aadhaar. I think Aadhaar has made the entire thing change actually. I think we were fortunate this Aadhaar came when we were just transforming into a bank. It eliminated the need of paper and confirmation that you are the same person. Right? So the entire journey became digital using Aadhaar based number, okay? And UPI, I'm sure, would not have taken off in this manner in case COVID was not there. I think COVID compelled everybody to move out from cash, right? Because there were a lot of restrictions on public movement and everything. So there were people wanted to do transactions but could not do, and they found an innovative way, right? And UPI is something I think which has taken off. And I think thanks to the government initiative where they have made it, it is no cost actually to the consumer. And at the same time, for the person who is selling or providing the services, there is no deduction for them. So this UPI has become a very great boon for them. And also what it has also done is, like in the morning's panel discussion, the first step which started was we could disburse into their bank accounts. The problem which all the bankers face is in case those accounts are not transactional, it is not viable to keep those accounts. Okay, so this UPI became a boon actually in disguise. So when we started giving QR codes to our customers and telling them how they can receive money in their account, it got resolved. Today we get about 30 to 35% of our repayments in their accounts as a QR code transaction. So what it enables is for us assessing the customer. So there is a traditional way of assessing which is completely changed the way we assess customers today. Though we use rule engine and everything like that, now we have the bank account to see what kind of transactions the customer is doing. And thanks to the digitization, if you are able to analyze the data which is coming from this UPI switch, you know where the customer is spending the money. And you know whether your portfolio is going to be at risk. Right? There are so many use cases which is there in case the UPI data is consumed. It is helping in multiple ways.
Would you like to add something new to what Martin has said?
Yeah, so I think everything he said is very much same thing that most of us. I'll just put it in a different way that luckily for India, broadly we call this as digital public infrastructure. The all that you talked about. It's like it's a public good, right? And all of us have access to that. So it's like government has done its part in laying that road, to the destination. Now it's our responsibility to choose the vehicle to drive on it, right? And if we still say that, no, I want to go by sidewalk, I don't trust this road because there will be a lot of accidents, because it's too fast for me, then I think we'll be, fooling ourselves. The point is, all these are great initiatives. They have really enabled a lot of smoothening, frictionless, transactions, payments, everything. But at the end of the day, it is the institutions like ourselves to be able to identify the opportunities within those and try and build on that, right? So, for example, Aadhaar, eKYC is a no-brainer today. But in microfinance, eKYC is still not very common. Okay, it is still a paper-based KYC system. So the point I'm trying to drive is, while these are all great innovations that have already happened, Aadhaar is now a decade and a half old, but there are some challenges in terms of how do we shift from our traditional way of doing things to a new way of doing things. and the change that institutions have to bring in is a bigger challenge than the availability of infrastructure or technological solutions. So I think we should also keep in mind that it's not just change in technology, it is change in the mindset of everyone that is in this business, all the legacy institutions that are, I mean, they are large ones, right? Legacy ones are large ones. So I think it is important to bring the third element, the public infrastructure, the technology, and the people part of it. And to us, the bigger challenge that we face while using these technologies, I mean, thanks to PhonePe, thanks to everybody, they've done a lot of work already. All these customers, if you open their phone, they have a PhonePe app already. You don't need to do much to make them learn about payment. But the point is, are we ready to actually receive that payment in a digital form? Or are we still going to trust that, no, unless I send a person out there and I collect the cash, I don't trust that this business will run. So I think to me, it is more than the infrastructure. It is about how do you utilize that infrastructure and make your business, exponentially grow. To an extent, I think that is still a challenge that we all have to grapple with.
You're saying that even though technology is exponential, it's like, let me give an analogy. There's a highway, new highways come. But if I don't have a driving license, it's of no use to me. I think same way
If
that
you have an
people
old car which cannot go more than 40 miles per hour, then it doesn't make sense
doesn't
to
make
drive on the highway because you'll be hit by somebody
You'll
who's
be hit
running
by
at 80%,
someone.
80 miles.
So an exponential technology or a solution can be hindered if the people part of it is not in place, is not set right. Gentlemen, what is your experience with the digital infrastructure that the government is laying? And what would you rate, the question to all is, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? How much has it been leveraged?
So I'll just add few more infrastructure actually on top of it. What
Okay.
we all know, like Aadhaar, almost all of us know. UPI, we all know. But there are few more actually there, because this is what we always say. Platforms are giving rise to more platforms, and like as a country, we have taken an approach that government has come into the center, which is trying to promote digital public infrastructure. Not only promote, they are building and then promoting the digital public infrastructure. Two or three more public infrastructure that we should be aware of in our context. One is account aggregator, which allows you to fetch information of any user from any of the data silos or any of the financial data silos that they have. So that is one very important thing. Second is the OCEN network, which is basically which allows that everything can come together, and customers, if they give the consent, you can offer them loans through a marketplace. And the third, which is in the making and which is seeing decent traction, is ONDC, which is Open Network for Digital Commerce, because eventually people use financial services or finance for doing something. They don't use money for doing money. So unless you're gambling, right? So they do it because they earn, or they do some commerce, or there is something that they need to spend. So there is an activity, money is associated with that, hence they use the money to drive that. So putting all those together, I would say they are at different stages. So for
Right.
example, Aadhaar is mainstay, almost every one of us has Aadhaar. So, and almost everyone is leveraging it. There has been a bit of, I would say, setback after the Supreme Court's decision. Some entities, they have been a little careful. Some of the telcos have been careful. But we have a very great success story of Jio. Jio could acquire 100 million, if I remember, 100 million customer in 50 days. So that is a world record kind of things. No one could do it unless you have such type of fantastic infrastructure, which works almost 24/7, despite all the criticism that we see in the media. So that is one. So UPI is another sterling example where we see 11 billion transactions on monthly basis. Again, the problem with UPI is that we only see 250 to 300 million people using it, wherein we have 600 million people with smartphone, at least in India. It means 50% of people are not using UPI. So that is the another divide that we need to bridge. So you can count it as success, or you can say this is work in progress.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
but if you look at account aggregator, I think still it's early days. There's enough traction, and there is like a lot of people are building it recently. I think a couple of days back, regulator came out with a circular. Some organization, they were using it as user, but they were not providing the data. And typically MFIs were on the wrong side. So I think it's a mixed bag, and we will also see a lot of, I would say, traction on ONDC. And of course, it's not as simple as UPI, because you have the lag of commerce also, lag of delivery also. these are not easy to be sorted. So I would say like we have done exceedingly well, and like future is pretty bright for us, and probably we will see more and more public digital infrastructure in our life.
Yeah, that's like a public good that is really
Yeah,
shaping up and making a difference. Any additional comments, Vinish?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this whole India stack thing, right? We are the blessed one. Frankly speaking, I'm telling you, because we have been working with clients in, I think, over 30 countries right now.
Okay.
Some of them are developed nations, some of them are developing or underdeveloped. I think even if you look at some of the most developed nation also, at the max, what we have is probably credit bureau and ID verification.
Okay.
But if you look at it, the details of it, say for example, you look at Aadhaar-based e-sign, you know, the cost of handling paper, storage and everything is probably 25 rupees or something. Even if you go with the most costly e-sign Aadhaar-based service, you will still be paying like 9 or 10 rupees, not more than that. Similarly, if you look at it, like if we compare what it used to be like 6-7 years back, the lead time from prospect to disbursement was probably 8 to 12 days,
Okay.
right? Today, even if we are being conservative in terms of CGT, GRT, like everything cannot happen on one day, you take like one day kind of thing, still you can do it like in 3 to 4 days max. So that's the advantage, because all this validation through India Stack does help us tremendously. So,
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. So it really, I think all this context setting has laid the groundwork for our Mangalyaan Chandrayaan to take off. So now let's actually get into exponential technologies. I'd like each of you to answer this question. Which exponential technology would you like to bet on? What impact will it create? And is it on customer engagement, or is it on business growth, or is it on risk management? What is the area that will impact? And the third, and if you're talking of AI, then AI is a very broad term. Please try to break it out into generative AI or computer vision or something else. Because I don't want us to use AI too broadly. So let's start from this side maybe. Vinish, one technology, one exponential technology you'd like to bet upon.
yeah, see, I think if we talk about AI, and there's something we are building prototype is on based on NLP. So natural, language, this thing. So, and here also we are talking very, very specific to 2 or 3 areas only. We don't want to, bring in too many this thing. So one is towards customer engagement and support. Okay. Which is, I mean, I don't want to, disclose the brand, but something, what we call in our internal language is bank GPT kind of thing. So customers can run any queries in any form with lot of correlation, it will reply. Okay. So it helps in cross-selling, upselling, engagement, pretty much end to end. Okay. So that's one. Second is towards the risk profiling. So the risk assessment side of it, using the AI NLP process for that particular purpose. So these are the couple of areas that we see as heavy usage for AI in the coming year.
Okay, and you're pretty confident that the results will
Very,
come?
very confident on this.
Okay.
It is going to happen. We're already seeing it happening. In bits and pieces, it is happening. Let's say, for example, there are so many BRE provider, the business rule engine provider, which is based on AI, but once again, it's in bits and pieces. It's not holistic.
Okay.
It is not based on alternate data. It is only based on the data which is available. So once we are talking about the entire thing like end to end, we are also talking about alternate data. Somebody who don't have credit history, but they have got the Jan-Dhan bank account, right? So they have been using that. So I mean, a chai wala who don't have any credit history, but using a QR code for last 6 months, and he is selling maybe 1,000 cups a day, he already got a profile built.
That's true. That's true. That part of
Absolutely.
analytics. Anil, what exponential technology would you like to bet on?
So for me, actually, I would rather bet on customer experience. The rest everything comes under it. So
Okay.
because to me,
But which technology?
yeah,
is
I'll
going
come to
play-
it. So
play a role
see,
there?
to me, the core of our services is customer experience. And unless we are able to better it, or unless we are able to provide the way a customer wants, and all customers are different, let me be very upfront on it. And until we are able to do it, I think nothing will happen, right? And this will be based on a few legs. So one of the leg would be that how do we interact with them? So interaction has to be omni-channel. So for example, if customer is only comfortable in language or speech, which generally like old people like me are interested in, so then you have to build something which is on NLP, right? So, and our experience in NLP, like so far, we have tried using in our work, even in the research and in the work that we do in the consulting space, it has not been as good as or as great as people would like to talk about. Whether we talk about Bhashini interface or whether we talk about, because there are plenty of noise, the way people use the words, the way people put it into context, I think these are
Correct.
very, very different. So even transliteration itself is becoming very, very difficult. So this will become first thing, but we definitely see there is a lot of work which is happening over here, and over a period of time we will be better and better. So that will be the first thing that should that I would put my bet
CX
on.
boost.
CX boost through multi-channel engagement. It could be whether voice, chat, web, app, anything. So it has to be omni-channel preference in the sense, today I am on voice, tomorrow I can be on chat, day after I can be on app. So it could be a journey on of my own, or it could be based on my comfort, or it could be based on the situation that I am in. Say for example,
Correct.
I am in a crowd, I don't want to speak, I want to type. It's like that. So we have to really go into the details of it. Just that's the reason I'm just breaking it down.
I'm
The
just thinking aloud. The system says, what is your password? You don't want to speak it out
Yes,
in a
yes,
crowd.
yes, yes. So in all condition, I don't want to use the same channel for all the things. So it
Right.
will depend on my
Omni-channel.
context. So that is one part of it, customer experience. The second part of the customer experience is how do we serve the customer. So to I don't want to give the example, but see, I have been banking with one very large bank. After 10 years of banking with the bank, not right now, 5 year back, I asked for a credit card first time in my life. Because before that, I was not required to have the credit card. My organization, previous organization, Infosys, used to provide me the a card, which I used to use. I was using it for all my foreign and international travels. This bank turned it down. They said, you have the I said, you have the history. Like, you have my history for 10 years, and you are the largest bank, one of the largest bank in India. They said, sorry, but the kind of organization that you are working in, probably we are not able to identify in our system. So you can imagine, then I had to put some money to get a credit card. They said, we will build your credit history. I said, go to hell with your credit history. I don't want my credit history. You want to build. So this, like the second part is that where you really need to build data analytics part of it. And
Okay.
data analytics will go into whether you want to pick up my alternate data, which if I allow, or you want to build AI on top of it, which could be generative AI, because because before this generative AI really came into existence, before that, a lot of discussion, a lot of hollow talks about AI and all these things, machine languages, but there was not much which we could see in the domain, which could see in the public domain. But now what we are seeing is really, really cool use case of using generative AI, wherein we are putting in, say, large language models into practice. And this is something probably can disrupt, or this can help us getting the customer experience. So for me, I think these two major pillars, which will give boost to customer experience, is where I would put my bet on, because rest everything will follow, because rest everything is all below the hood, and which I think all people in this room, they understand, and all technologies, they would like to believe that they can solve.
Sounds good, Anil. Let me come to financial sector, guys. Very quickly, one technology that you really would like to bet on that will have some kind of exponential impact.
Yeah, the background is digital, right? I think most of us, I'm sure in this room, use digital e-commerce platforms, right? If the journey is good, no problem. For example, you order for something and you got what you ordered, happy journey, no problem. The problem comes when what you ordered and what you receive, it's not up to what you expect, right? That is where is the catch. So, for example, if there is a faceless kind of a service, it becomes difficult. And I'm sure it is for you and me also, it is the same problem. For example, all these popular e-commerce sites, in case you have to return, it's not as easy. right? So customer experience becomes very, very important, right? As we are driving digital, as we are driving efficiency, we cannot forget this aspect of it. Okay, so there are few things which we have done actually. For example, as a bank, the customers are rated as high risk, medium risk, and low risk. Okay. In your traditional banking, the customer is expected to visit the branch and submit the KYC document and everything. So, for everybody, it is not an easy experience taking time off from your work or taking permission from your employer, coming to just fulfill your KYC transaction. That is the reason people, those bank accounts become inactive or dormant. So, video KYC, we have to thank our regulator. I think our regulator also is constantly looking at on the digital side, how things can be eased out, video KYC and video banking, so that there is a face behind. If any journey goes wrong or anything like that, the customer should be able to connect with the bank immediately because it is financial transaction. And the kind of stress the customer undergoes because of the delays, I'm sure me and you can understand that very well. That time for resolution is something which none of us are able to. I think customer experience is something which I would bet on completely. That will be the key for any digital thing to succeed.
You're saying iron out all kinds of process gaps that talk about the overall customer experience and not the main activities.
There will
like
be
return of goods. You said,
absolutely return of goods, or because everything is working on technology, everything happens in a fraction of second. If there is a break in the journey, I think the customer should not get hassled actually for no fault because they have parted with the money and they don't know what has happened. I think that part of it has to be very quick response actually to that.
You have to make it so simple for customer in case there is something happening which is not as per her or his liking. You have to get into it.
Yeah. To match what the customer expects or what you have promised the customer.
Absolutely.
This is what we will deliver.
Absolutely. Customer experience is definitely the point, but I'm just coming back to I want to just put this in a different perspective in terms of microfinance as a business. I started saying that we have kind of achieved paperless. We will achieve cashless sooner than later, or at least cash light, if not cashless. The biggest reason why exponential growth is not perceivable in microfinance business is because of the fact that there is a human interface. Okay, so the more you have people, the more you have friction. Period. Right? Because a person can only serve a certain number of customers. If you have to grow, you have to keep hiring. That is the model. I don't think there is any other model right now. So as long as you can make it presence-less to a majority of your customers, then the exponential growth is possible. Because then you will use this number of people for serving a lot more customers. So if my loan officers serve 300-400 customers, they run out of time. Now out of the 300-400 customers, if we know that out of 400, 300 actually don't need any person there, they can actually manage their life, and once in a while you may need a visit, not every month, every week, every fortnight. You then make this person only serve those 100 people, and his capacity is 400, so he can actually serve 4 times the customers that he used to serve. So in my opinion, if you can build a technology as good as we're talking about an experience for the customer who is ready to take on digital, then you can actually make it presence-less. And I bet on one technology that will make it very possible is computer vision. Okay. Where a computer vision technology can in fact read a lot of images and a lot of videos that a customer themselves can upload, and the data models can underwrite that loan without sending a person out there to know whether this person has a good house or bad house, or whether he has assets or not, whether the shop is stocked or not. If you can get a good computer vision technology, it can actually replace a person's, and in fact, a person can go wrong because that person will make a judgment. And there are thousands of loan officers making judgments. Right? Now, if you have one technology running on all the data, it makes one judgment. And the precision is much higher in terms of your ability to underwrite that loan. The second very important technology is Gen AI. The lot of mundane tasks we do today as a microfinance business in terms of processing files, taking it to GRT, CGT, I think these are very, very mundane tasks. They're very mechanical businesses. No real, application of mind is required there. Can you not move that to machine and let Gen AI take over? That's basically better than human, that, like I said, the heterogeneity of human nature again taken out. So I think if you can put these two technologies to work, computer vision for images and videos instead of a person going there, and Gen AI for all the basic interactions that you do, I think you can exponentially grow the business. There is no doubt about that.
This computer vision example, one thing comes to mind that the general insurance sector has done, that if you have your car damaged and you want to claim, just take a video of the car, the damaged areas, I guess. And these guys have figured out how to use that computer vision technology to figure out, estimate the damage, estimate the cost of repair. Same damage on a Maruti versus a damage on a Mercedes. The system can figure out what's the real
It's a little
cost.
difficult in human side of it. Machine is at least, there's a structure, you can actually design for it. My two young colleagues sitting here, they are experimenting on various technologies to know, what is the right way to identify a TV, identify a fridge in the house, identify, because that's how you assess a customer's ability to pay, right? Now you visit the house and you do all these things. You rather run a video for a 2 minutes, ask the customer to send a video of their house, and your machine is actually reading instantly and saying that, okay, you are a good customer or not. Willingness to pay is determined there. It's not willingness, ability to pay determined there. So you have to have that kind of a technology. Of course, it's evolving. We are experimenting on some of these things, very early stage, but they will come.
Good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I like the point that you made, from paperless to cashless to presenceless. That continuity is seen in that kind of engagement. The next point is then, when you look at all these, developing these new solutions, you expect, the question now is to mostly to the financial sector players. How much do you expect to do in-house? How much do you expect fintechs to play a role? How much do you expect big techs to play a role? What is your journey with these three kind of options looking like in the next couple of years?
I think it goes back to our experience with vendors. So honestly, we have had very, very bad experience with vendors. So at some point we made a call that all the core technologies we'll build in-house, all the commoditized technologies we will outsource or integrate. Okay, so we tried to, it's not the right thing probably for many financial institutions to become tech companies, but we have decided to become a tech company.
Okay.
Because we thought that if I have a dream in my mind, translating the dream to, for all due respect to Craft Silicon here, to translate my dream into their mind and then they develop a product and give it to me is not going to be that easy.
Okay.
Okay, it's instead you have your own, that's our experience. I'm not advocating, but it's a very, very high investment and lot of time it takes to get there. But all the core technologies we said, it's our USP, it's our secret sauce and our own thought process. It's very difficult to translate it to outsiders. So let's build it. But then those which are mostly API, kind of commoditized integrations, if you want to do a validation, if you do a face matching, if you want to do a OCRs, these kind of things, you don't need to build anything. They are all out there and run multiple APIs and do that job. So good integrations and core in-house technology. So if these two, API integrations and good core in-house technology, in our assessment has become the way to go forward. 2 years down the line, I'll tell you whether it's working or not. But as of now, it's working.
Between fintechs and backtechs, do you see some?
No, we are all fintechs. There is I don't think we should say that there is an MFI and there is a fintech. I don't think there is an option. You have to become a fintech.
Yourself have to become.
Because if you are digitizing your processes, you are a fintech. So I don't see that as a alternative in terms of whether a fintech can offer a solution. I think you have to either become a fintech or you kind of transform into a fintech kind of a institution. Of course, technology solutions can be borrowed and can be built by third parties. That is more like service providers than truly fintechs. But Scarf Silicon is a fintech, but they are building for the sector. So those core solutions that they're building, LMS for example, I don't think I should build LMS. That doesn't make a lot of sense because he said that's more standard, it doesn't go through a lot of changes. But LOS for me, it goes through a lot of changes and it's a lot of hard work to make your vendor, go through those changes. I said, can we build it ourselves? Not easy. I'm not again advocating, but sometimes, get into the stage of deciding between what you should do, what you should not. But some good companies can see this as an opportunity, build it in a microservices model and offer it as an option. One can go for that, but Very few of them are like that.
You really need to figure out that if you want to partner with someone, do they really have that strong competency to deliver
Very
what
strong.
you need and not
Correct.
what the world needs.
We
maybe.
can't take a
It's more-
solution and try to find a problem, right? They have to solve for my problem.
Solve
So
your
sometimes it is, different pace at which people work. So yeah, a good vendor, yes, absolutely good idea. But sometimes it's hard to find them.
So Martin, what has been what is you think Ujjivan's strategy is going to be?
Yeah.
What mix of insourcing and outsourcing?
Yeah, so ours is, I think, completely different. Say we look at it, what we are good at, right? So we know how to assess the customer. We know what is the business we want to do. So we believe in partnerships, right? Use the best of what is available, because today we have all these tech companies who are there. Some of them are very good at solving certain problems, but your business requires so many steps to be accomplished, right? So we use a combination of big technologies and the fintechs to see that how quickly I can do and how efficiently I can do, right? So it is looking at the right partner. Our own personal experience, we tried using one of the core banking solution, very reputed core banking solution for microfinance business, right? In your core banking and your micro banking, the difference is the volumes. Micro banking this one is a volume game, whereas your core banking is value based actually. So the same thing could not be fitted. So we had to look at partners who are very good in the microfinance space. So it as an organization, you'll have to look for partners who can work with you, who understand your business. Then I think working with the partners and getting the solution to what we want, right? It's like making a movie. When you're making a movie, you need an actor, you need a director, you need a musician, right? You need an editor. You can't do everything in-house yourself. So if you have to have a very good product, finally it has to be palatable to the customer also, right? So it is working in partnership. I think that is, so it is win-win and it's a good ecosystem to be in.
So there are both models, and I guess each organization then has to figure out what is the right model for itself. So friends, we have 5 minutes left. I'm going to try to use that small amount of time to touch on one thing which I think is the biggest barrier to anything being exponential. That is regulation and governance. The regulator says no to a certain way that you want to do something, God help you. If governance makes it difficult to achieve what you want, makes the journey difficult, makes the outcome erratic, and again, being exponential is no fun. You're going to crash land on the moon or crash land on Mars. My final comments from all of you is, how do you see governance for exponential technologies? How do you see finance institutions putting in relevant governance mechanisms, relevant governance parameters to make sure that these exponential technologies do not crash land? Maybe you can start with Vinish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's no very straight answer to it. It depends on, I think it's both. It's not only from a governance perspective, but it also depends on the organization, So there is pull and push both. For example, if you look at it, let's say after or during the COVID, when we are talking about, let's say, digital loan repayment, okay? There's a lot of maturity and a lot of push required from the organization. At the same point of time, it also depends on which region or which state you are operating in actually. I mean, if you look at the maturity wise, from that governance perspective, if you look at South or the West, it's far higher than if you compare it with East. So it is, I mean, there's no straight.
Focus on technology governance.
Yeah,
rather
I'm saying
than
from a technology perspective, because see, this is adoption of the technology that we talked about earlier, so building on to the earlier context setting that we did, for UPI or for,
Yes.
JAN and all, right? So that's one. Now, definitely when it comes to the technology per se, it can be a challenge. There's absolutely no doubt. If there is a regulatory this thing. Let's say we try to build on something to do with self-onboarding or anything else, and then suddenly the FOIA comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole regulatory requirement, tweaks your entire model,
Right.
right?
That can
So
happen.
then you have 1.5 lakh and 3 lakh criteria and everything. Then you again start redoing your market intelligence, your machine learning. So everything changes actually.
Correct.
So it has to be, consciously taken into account, has to be very, very flexible. The way we are trying to adopt the technology, we cannot be very, very stringent. We need to have the openness in it so that if tomorrow certain frameworks comes in, then we should be able to adapt to it. Aadhaar for one example, when the Supreme Court ruling came before that, Aadhaar was used like,
Anything.
but that's not there anymore. I mean, so there was a setback.
Anil, would you like to comment on governance aspects for the
Yeah,
future?
so see, for me, regulations are going to stay. So they will, whatever they are, whether we like it or not, we have to agree with that. That's a point number one. Point number two is that a lot of technology governance that I see in the organizations, they are being driven by the businesses. So businesses want to do something very quickly, very rapidly, and that is where actually these slippages are happening. So in the sense, like for most organizations, there is a technology governance process, but there is a business priority. They say, okay, I want this feature to be out in next, say, 10 days. But technologically, I can empathize with his pain that it's not possible in doing it, delivering it in 10 days. Okay, they said, okay, if you're pushing me to the wall, okay, I'm just coming out with a release. This release is half-baked sometimes, with not completely tested. Let me complete, because I have been on this side also, right? So what happens, then things starts breaking. And if there is a material break, then regulator comes in. Then they then they make you crash land, and there are many examples. So in fact, we need to be very careful, particularly when you are dealing in a regulated space, and businesses, they shouldn't be doing so much of business that they completely overrule the technology part of it, because most of the business that we are doing now, we are doing the help of technology. And if we are not building those safeguards, or if we are not letting them build those safeguards, we have to give them time. You can't build, you can't go to moon in, say, next 24 hours. It takes time. If it takes time, it takes time.
That 14th March regulation came and 1st April was a deployment time, right?
So either,
The regulators are also pushing.
so either you stop your business for time being, or you take the risk. So ultimately, it's a business call.
Let me turn on this side and give us a little bit of a futuristic perspective on technology governance.
Well, in my mind, everybody is learning. Even regulator is learning.
Right.
So I don't think there is any intention for any regulator or anybody to put a brake on your business. It is about, even regulator comes to know about the problem when the problem occurs.
Right.
And most of the fintech regulations today you see are more coming from, even microfinance regulations came out of microfinance crisis, right? So I think with all due respect to the regulator, they are also like us. They are also learning this game. They're not, they're not experts in everything. And I think we have some ex-regulators sitting in the room. I think they probably agree with this thought. But the point is, the idea of a regulator or a governance is to make sure that you are doing things in the right way. And somebody has to make a mistake. Then only you will know it is not the right way to do. So I think somebody should try to land a rocket in 24 hours. Then only you will know that it is not possible. And by the way, vaccines were built in 1 year, which was supposed to be 7-8
Yes,
years story.
correct.
So when it comes to that situation, maybe somebody will build a rocket which will land in, 24 hours. You cannot say no to it. But you have to allow that to happen. You have to allow mistakes to happen. Of course, not big mistakes. Not ultimately, customers should not pay the price. But if some mistakes happen, all of us as an industry will learn from it, and regulator will then know what to be regulated and what not to be regulated. So they don't take the harsh stand and not put a brake on the whole business. So in my opinion, it is very difficult to answer that what is going to come in next in the future, but we should keep trying. We should keep making some mistakes. There's nothing wrong in that, as long as they are not very costly mistakes. And all of us along with the regulator will also learn with it, and then we will have a,
Accelerated learning is the way to governance.
absolutely quick, learn fast, fail fast, try and develop something which, regulator has sandbox options. There are RBI Innovation Hub. There are options where you can go and do in a controlled environment rather
Safe
than,
environment,
doing something in an open.
Absolutely.
So those opportunities are also there. Regulator offers those opportunities. One can work with the regulator to actually innovate as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Martin, your thoughts on this?
Yeah. See, for exponential growth, we are talking about digitization, which without that one, it is not possible, right? And if it has to be at a very efficient way, then it has to be digitization is the only way I see it. And at the same time, now with this data protection laws and everything coming in, you don't know what is going to get complicated. Suddenly, if they say that, okay, your data cannot be on the cloud, it has to be here, or any new regulation comes, it's a big risk, and there is a big investment which goes into achieving all this. So that is something which I see, and I completely agree with Shashi, where I think some amount of a closed user kind of testing can be done, just to be that sense check to ensure that there is no blatant kind of breaches which is visible. I think we have to live with it, and I fully agree. We have to fail fast so that you learn quickly and you get over it.
I think that's the answer, Anil, to the question that you raised. That if the business wants it, maybe they can roll it out on a smaller scale, and then
Everyone allows you to experiment, but you shouldn't be doing experiment on a mass scale. So it's like, say, for example, if you are doing vaccine in a year, there are a lot of leeway which was provided even by the regulator. In the sense, they said, okay, you can do it very speedily. In the sense, they were not waiting for all the trials to come out, because they take for 5 to 10 years data, like what is the impact. So they said, okay, even with 3 months data, we are okay with that. That's a need of the hour. So regulator is not that regulator will not step up. Regulator will always step up, provided you prove that this is what I want to do, this is how it can be done, and this is a proof.
essentially what all of you are saying is work with the regulator and not try to bypass the regulator to do some innovation or experiment in a regulated space. So I think that's the set of questions I have. And do we have time for one or two questions? Or okay. So let's close this session. Thank you, everyone. I hope you found something interesting to take away. For me, the kind of bottom line might be, I can say, let's make exponential as a new normal. Does that make sense? Let's make exponential as a new normal. That can help us change the strategy of technology and customer experience and compliance and regulation and meeting business needs kind of thing. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Sa-Dhan. All the best to the entire Sa-Dhan team for hosting this and for its silver jubilee. And thank you, audience, for being, and I hope all of you found it interesting what our panelists had to say, have to share with you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj Agrawal. I would request all my guests to please be seated. There's a small token of thanks from us. For this, I would request Mr. V. N. Shalima, Chairman, IDF Financial Services and former board member of Sa-Dhan, to join us to present the gift. We'll be giving a shawl and a plug for all our delegates. Mr. Manoj Agrawal, Group Editor, Banking Frontiers. Please, a round of applause for everyone. Mr. Shasidhar Thumuluri, MD and CEO Sabke. Mr. Martin P., CEO Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Mr. Anil Gupta, Partner, Payments and Distribution, MicroSave Consulting. Achha. Mr. Martin P., CEO, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Mr. Anil Gupta, Partner, MSC. Please, a little louder. Mr. Vinish Shah, CBO Crafts Silicon. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, and we'll have a group photo. But before that, I would request all of you to take care of your belongings. We have people over here who have lost their belongings. So please check if you have any bag lying beside you which you think is not yours. Please check and mind your own bags also. Please keep them safe. A group photograph. Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful session. Please join us for tea.
7-8 copies. If anyone is curious about the magazine, please connect with me.
Again, reminders, please carry your own bags, and if you find any bag lying anywhere, please tell us. We'll try to share it with the owner.